Let's go, baby.
Off the turn, they're 3 wide.
Battle for the lead as Hickok gets out of shape.
Bottom shot, 3 wide.
He takes the lead back. Dynamite Racing.
Welcome to Stafford Speedway. The Open Modifieds are back for the 3rd time this season in the Casella Waste Open Modified 80-lap main event. So we'll start our pit preview in the Open Modified pits, where Kyle's standing by with the driver that most recently saw victory lane in this division.
Bonzo were able to catch up with the most recent winner of Open Modified racing here at the Stafford Motor Speedway, coming back in May in Glenn Reen. And Glenn, first off, congratulations on that win. Where do you think you're able to learn that night that you can transfer into tonight?
Well, definitely the open mods are like the tour car I used to run, and you could tell I had screwed up on one of the restarts and totally thought it was an SK, but we learned a lot that night, especially about how everything plays out. The tires, they're totally different than the SK tires we run, so I think we got a good shot tonight. We got the same people working, we got the same crew that we scrounged up last time to change tires, and I ran up to Tyler Leary and I was like, you're still gonna carry tonight, right? And Matt Vassar and all the other guys, and they're like, yep. And I made my buddy Chris Sullivan drive all the way out from Boston so that he can change the other side and Rocco will be here again. So I'm excited. But like I said, we're here to have fun. That's the whole goal. If we finish 5th, or we all have smiles, we can have some beers the other night, then that's awesome too.
How weather sensitive is this racetrack, or temperature sensitive? Overcast all day, but we're expecting the temps to go down here as the sun sets for your feature event here later tonight.
Yeah, I mean, as we all know, the track's, it's great, but it's super sensitive to stuff like that. So we'll have to stay up on our adjustments today, but I got a hell of a crew chief, Jeff Rocco, and he's been here a lot, same with his brother, Keith, so I'm not too worried about that part.
Best of luck to you here later tonight. Looking for 2 in a row.
Thank you, brother. That'd be cool to finally do 2 in a row. Be kind of nice. Hopefully see you guys down there.
Sounds good. That is Glenn Reen, race winner last time here. Let's hear now from the driver that finished 2nd to Glenn last month.
Kyle, last time we had the Open Modifieds in town, this guy came home runner-up, and Teddy Hodgson, I know you wanted to do 1 spot better, but when you look back on that run, how did you feel about the car? What more did you need out of it?
Yeah, it was, we were just building tight all night, especially in that last run there when we put on tires. We just built too tight, and we could cut through the pack there, but once it stabilized off, me and Glenn were just so consistent. I couldn't gain on any, couldn't pull away. So, it was a really good night. I was really bummed, obviously, in the interviews and stuff, but after a couple of days and everything settled down, I had a really good feeling that we had a good car to come back and, compete for more wins. So hopefully we'll do that today.
Now, a little bit cooler today. I think it's cool. It's like in the 70s or 80s. It's cloudy. Track conditions wise, how do you think things are going to change compared to the last time you raced here?
Yeah, so hopefully the temperature doesn't decrease too much. A big influx will change how the handling will be, daytime to nighttime. So hopefully the cloud cover will give a little less temperature and it'll be a little more consistent coming towards race time. But I know me and my guys, we'll have a good package for both the heat race and the feature tonight.
Sounds good. Have fun today.
Thank you.
That's Teddy Hodgson coming off a 2nd place finish in the last 80-lap race, trying to do 1 spot better and get his first career Open Modified win. Now we're going to go to the SK Modified pits with Kyle.
And Bonza able to catch up with the SK Modified Championship point leader, Showtime Jimmy Blewett, who's been on the podium in the first 4 races. You won the first race, and I think Keith came up to you post-race and said, well, now try it from the back. And you've been starting mid-pack the last 3 weeks and have made your way up to the front. What's been the key, without giving the secrets away, these first 4 weeks?
Really unloading out of the trailer, out of the gate, was really the key to our success so far. These guys unloaded the car the first day here when we tested, and it was right there, so ultimately, so far, all we really had to do was just minor tweaks, for the weather or for what we're putting on as far as our tire bank. But, all the credit's going to go to these guys here, JJ, everybody on the crew, Chris, just everybody involved in this program. is why this success is here. They make my job really easy on a Friday night to come here and drive it. It's a group effort all the way around between, obviously myself as a driver and my crew chief, but we picked a course in the beginning of the year, and we plan on staying the course the entire season. Our main goal was just to finish each night because, we're here to try to run for a points championship. But also, we'd like to get some wins too. But like I said, without a car as fast as this one, you're not able to get through the pack, starting mid-pack,
And what has been a very tough pack to get through. 4 races, 4 different winners. You've been up toward the front each week. Rate the field, because it's a tough one every Friday night here in the SKs.
Definitely, probably the hardest weekly racing I've ever done, for sure. You have a lot of great talent here. You got Keith, you got Marcello, you got Corey. There's the list. I could sit here and name names for probably 10 minutes of people that could win here easily on a Friday night. Anybody can win. Everybody's got great equipment, great cars. There's a lot of good crew chiefs walking around the pits on a Friday night here for SK racing. So with that said, I think it's for a good year of racing for the fans and also for myself.
Best luck to you here tonight.
Thank you.
That is your SK Modified Championship point leader, Jimmy Blewett. Now let's go over to the late model pits and hear from a driver that finally got her season turned around a week ago.
Kyle, after a rough start to the year thus far, Alex Fern comes off her best late model finish of second after leading the most laps. Alex, for you, after the tough stretch you had in the beginning, how tough is it, or how easy is it, to try and shake it off and get ready for the next one?
I think it's definitely a little bit difficult to sometimes get back into the groove and get motivated to try and come back here each week and make the car a little better while also fixing it. I know I've said before that it's really hard to win here, and it's even harder to be consistent. So, I guess it could only get better is the mindset that we were in, and we just took it as an opportunity to learn the car and kind of do what we can and see what happens. The goal when I initially got this car was to just finish the race, and then once we can get it to run good, then we can focus on a top 5, top 3, and then maybe a win. But last Friday, I knew I had a good car and started up front, so I definitely had a chance to win and learned a lot. We went home and made the car a lot better, so I think tonight we'll be able to keep it going and see what we can do. I just have a lot of people to thank that helped me get here, and they've been very patient and have been working very hard in the shop the past couple weeks to get us to where we are, so I just have to thank them.
So you mentioned this is a new car for you. How tough or how maybe easy has it been to get acclimated to a new car and get it to handle to the way you like it?
It's a little bit different. I drove Ryan's late model a few times last year and had a good finish at the last race with that, but it's a little bit different. I'd driven it a couple times and I knew it was a good car, and we knew how it responded to certain things, and I know what kind of car I like to drive. This car, it has a lot of the same stuff on it, and we went through it and all of that, but it is still different, and it has its quirks. So I think that we have, again, learned a lot, and we're in a good position now to keep building on that and be a threat to win.
That's Alex Fern after a great job on Friday night, looking to go back-to-back in the podium, maybe do one spot better and get late model win number 1. Now let's go on over to the SK Light Modified pits with Kyle.
Bond's able to hang out with the Shark here in the pit area. Bob Charland, one of the veterans of this SK Light Modified division that led so many laps a week ago and got a podium finish out of it. Kind of walk us through those closing laps of last week's 20-lap feature.
So last night was a really good night. I wasn't sure what type of car we had, and we got after it, and it was restart after restart, as you guys know, and I kept on digging. The car was decent. Wasn't the best it could be, but I was definitely driving my best. And, lap 5 to go, we definitely had a wrap on it. We just could have went green all the way, would have been okay with me, but it didn't. And then the cautions kept coming, kept eliminating cars, and sure enough, then it was the 28 and the 29, which brought the Top Guns to me. And, I did everything I could, but I was taken down by the Top Gun, so it ain't the worst thing, and it was a great night all in all.
So you've been close, including last week. What would getting back to victory lane mean to you after almost a decade?
Yeah, the old decade now, huh? So it would be great. obviously. We've been working towards that with this car when we came on with Todd. You know, we talk about we're going to get some wins, and they're going to come, and, you know, we've been working it. It's not the first time we came close, but it's all good. One thing I can say is I set out this year to have a good time every Friday night, and I've done just that. So the finishes help, but good time is on the top of my list.
Have a good time out there here tonight.
I certainly will. Thanks.
Bob Charland, longtime veteran here in this division, looking to get back to Napa Victory Lane. Bonds has been able to catch up with a street stock driver, also looking for his first win of the season.
Kyle, one of our more consistent runners lately in the street stock division is the Wicker, as you can tell. Johnny Walker has come off back-to-back second-place finishes. Now, Johnny, you didn't race the whole year last year, but when you did, you weren't exactly satisfied with the performance. This year, what has changed to lead to all these runner-up finishes?
Some new backing, you know. We're trying to bring back that quote, Wicker's quicker. Got a couple new sponsors, Garrett's Carpentry. The recruit chief, Dan Ferrarchi's been helping us get a little speed in the car. We picked up Beaver Camper this week. So a bunch of new sponsors, Moose Hill Lock Campground, Holyoke Dental. So, you know, with some fresh backing, we're doing a little bit better this year.
For you as a driver, what does it mean for you confidence-wise, morale-wise, to get these second-place finishes knowing that you're almost there to that win?
You know, for a while I was starting to wonder if I even had it. Was it me who was falling off, or was it the car? But with so many changes they did while I took some time off, it was tough to come back, and we were behind the 8 ball, and I saw us struggling in areas that, you know, when I was in the grandstands, I was watching some of these other guys struggle, and they figured it out. So, you know, we were about a year behind the pace, and so now, you know, we're back on top, running quick again, and it's only a matter of time until we get those wins.
Now, your big goal is to get that record. You're one win away from tying it. You know the 11 and 31 are fast. What more do you need to catch up to those two?
I had to refill the tank of nitrogen. I'm sorry, a fresh tank of NOS. That's what I keep saying. We're going to need a fresh tank of NOS to catch these guys. But, you know, I don't know. We just need a little bit more luck, and, you know, I think we'll be right there.
Have fun today, Mr. Wicker.
Wicker's quicker.
There you go. He also said ka-chow last week, so you never know how the interview will close out. That's Johnny Walker looking to get his first win in a few years. It's time to go racing. It's Casella Open Modified 80 night, where Kyle Rickey and Ben Dodge are on the call.
Well, as you can see, a lot is going on backstage here at the Stafford Motor Speedway, and it's a very, very special night. It's brought to you by the good folks from Casella. You can see we've added a brand new billboard coming off turn number 2. And in addition to that, the folks at Casella have a display set up on the midway as you came through the main ticket booth. And I'm going to tell you something. Kyle is alongside of me here at Broadcast Central, and they are not only contributing as a major sponsor in 2023 to the Stafford Motor Speedway, but they are also supporting a ton of race cars in a ton of the popular divisions here at the track. So hats off to them. We're going to tell you a lot about them and their company tonight. You know, we are all well aware of the fact that it is, well, we'll call it spritzing a bit at this particular time. But the news is positive because this could pass us rather quickly, and then from this point on, we should have a great evening of great racing in store. But while we have this, well, we'll call it pre-break in the action, as they're continuing to work and set up things for tonight's program, we want to remind you that our food concession stands are open. You can smell those delicious peppers and onions and all the other great foods available directly under Broadcast Central. In addition to that, as we said before, for information or just stopping by, the good folks from Casella, they are located where you came through the main ticket booth to the left-hand side. In addition to that, the double hook is available, and there are no huge lines as we speak. And the patio area for the double hook is more than inviting for you to stop on by and enjoy this evening's race program from what I consider one of the best locations in the house to watch a race program here at the Stafford Motor Speedway. Now, we also want to remind you that the point battles are getting heated up. As Kyle, Rickey, and I have been looking at the point standings, and I think we are all well aware of the fact that this evening's race program is another one of those nights that the point battles are so close and they could all be changing. Now, last week in the limited late model division, they had a very special night, and it created a very, very interesting run and interesting finish, as Matt Clement still has the lead by just 2 points over Jeremy Lavoie. Now, Lavoie is one of the all-time great veterans, but there is no question in our mind about Matt Clement's performance in 2023. So you look at the point standings there up on the big board, and you can see that in third is Kevin Cormier. And Kyle, I don't think anybody anticipated Kevin Cormier to be this strong this early in the season, but he has shown tremendous improvement and talent in this class, and he seems to be getting stronger and better every time out.
In his sophomore season here for the limited late models, and currently third in the championship standings, coming off of last week's Riley Generators 30 for the limited late models, their longest event of the season, and it really tightened the gap among the top three. And you mentioned Jeremy Lavoie now within 2 points, and Matt Clement, who had an eventful night. Adrian Paradise III and Rich Hammond rounding out the top five in a very competitive limited late model season, as it usually is. A great field of cars, one of our biggest fields that we have had in a number of years for the limiteds on a consistent weekly basis over the first 4 weeks, and another good field of cars on hand here tonight as they prepare for their feature event, 17 strong, here later this evening for the limited late models.
Of course, the big headliner for this evening's program is the Open Tour Type Modified event that is taking place, and we have 23 top shelf and more than competitive cars. Now, if you weren't here early with us for the practice sessions, in the Open Modified division in the first round of practice, it was Ronnie Williams, no surprise at all, to be among the quickest cars in the house. Anthony Bello, equally as impressive in the Jensen 179, was second fastest. Chris Pastriak in the 75, the Pastriak family car, was third fastest, and Eric Goodale was among the top four. Teddy Hodgson, no surprises. He's been fast wherever he's been. He just hasn't had a lot of luck. He was fifth fastest in the first round. Mikey Flynn, been getting better and stronger every time out. He was sixth fastest. Stephen Kopsick was seventh, driving the number one car. Devin O'Connell was eighth. Craig Lutz in Jimmy Page's 00 was ninth. And John McKennedy, defending champion of the Wheel and Modified Tour, was among the top 10. But in the second round of practice, well, Kyle, it changed quite a bit, because moving to the top of the board was Stephen Kopsick. Kopsick turned a time of 18.409. And it almost appeared, Kyle, like Woody Pitkat, who was second fastest, who was the dominant car in last year's Open shows here at Stafford. He was playing possum in the first round of practice.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
Yeah, by the time we got to the second round, he was right there behind Stephen Kopsick with a time of 18.449. And George Bissett Jr., third fastest. Matt Gallo was fourth fastest. Good to see that. And Anthony Bello would round out the top five. But six on back, it was a completely different story.
Yeah, it was Mac Zackham in the sixth spot, Craig Lutz, Glenn Reen, Eric Goodale, and John McKennedy rounding out the top 10. And keep in mind, this is where Woody Pitkat started his streak.
That's right.
A year ago at this event last season. He went on a tear for the Open Modifieds, winning 3 in a row. Last year, he held off Mike Christopher Jr. en route to the win in this June event last season over Dylan Izzo, Chase Dowling, and Teddy Hodgson. Glenn Reen, though, we heard from him just a bit ago. He's trying to start a streak of his own with that Dan Avery car.
And, you know, the confidence is up for him, and I think that's going to be a key ingredient in all of this. He had such a dry spell for quite some time. Then he came back, and, of course, the Dan Avery stable were thrilled to death to have a car back in the winner's circle with him as a driver. Let's take a look at the SK Modified division. And interestingly enough, fastest guy in the Tour Type Modifieds was Stephen Kopsick. So guess who was the fastest guy in the SK Modified? Stephen Kopsick, with a time of 19.052. Second fastest was Dylan Kopech, who's been showing lately that he is here to run up front and to win some races this season. He was second fastest with a 19.167. Anthony Bello showing consistency again. Third fastest. Corey DiMatteo was fourth fastest after a podium run a week ago. Noah Connor rounded out the top 5. Marcello Rafano was sixth fastest. Todd Owen was seventh. Keith Rocco was eighth. Tyler Leary, he was ninth fastest, and Michael Christopher would round out the top 10. Now, interestingly enough, as we look at the top 10 there are some surprises, but really, I think the biggest surprise would have to be Dylan Kopech, because he has been consistent and strong, but he is a second-generation driver, and to be second fastest behind Steven Kopczyk, I think that tells the whole story.
Yeah, quick here tonight, looking for his first win here at the Speedway for Dylan in that number 16 car, so he'll no doubt be one to keep an eye on. Do want to mention for all those watching on FloRacing, welcome to the Stafford Motor Speedway. You haven't missed anything if you're just tuning in. Nope. We are currently sitting out a very slight weather delay. I mean, it's like a heavy spritz out there. We have far from lost the racetrack. There are some track drying vehicles dragging the old school tires around just to keep some heat in the surface. We anticipate this system passing here in the next 10 minutes or so. Thankfully, it has broken up quite a bit over the last hour to 90 minutes. So for those of you tuning in on FloRacing, you haven't missed much. We are still just kind of waiting out the back end of this system, and we should be good to go here in a couple of moments. Want to touch on the SK Modifieds briefly. 4 weeks, 4 winners. Yes. Another very competitive division. Jimmy Blewett, Michael Jarvis, Steven Kopczyk, and last week, Marcello Rafano getting his third career win, first of the season. And they have a big couple of weeks. A feature here tonight, and the next week, the Senators Cup, a 50-lap special event.
Very prestigious.
Very long-time event here at the racetrack.
Yep.
David Arute picked up the race win a year ago in the Senators Cup. So big run here for the SK Modified.
So for those of you that are watching on Flo and the fans that are being so patient and so kind, setting in the grandstand, and that's a good indication. When you see fans setting in the grandstand under a rain situation, the way we are seeing them this evening, that's an indication that they all feel as confident as we do that we are going to be able to dry things out, and it's not really even that wet, to be honest with you, and be able to get things well underway. The big story here in the going back to the SK Modifieds, the second round of practice, Steven Kopczyk again moved to the top of the board. Jimmy Blewett was second fastest, and want to mention something with Jimmy Blewett. You know, so many times we talk about a competitor that comes to a racetrack. Jimmy travels all the way from New Jersey to come here every Friday night. The car in that operation, a gentleman by the name of JJ, prepares it and so forth with it. But it is more than one person that creates the magic. And in that particular racing operation, the key ingredient in 2023 is the spotter. It is Waddell from Waddell Communications. Why I say that is he has spotted for some of the biggest names in the business, including, as we both know, Ryan Preece. And in addition to that, he has spotted and watched as many, if not more, cars competing in the SKs and with the top name drivers in the SKs as well. He is the man, the little voice in the ear, that is getting Jimmy Blewett through things and situations on the racetrack that most individuals that haven't been to Stafford in a long time or haven't ran in this division would be struggling with. So it's not just the driver sometimes. It's not just the crew chief. It is the spotters, the other people that you don't see that behind the scenes, and hats off to them. And that team is a perfect representation of exactly what we just said. Michael Christopher Jr., he's had a really tough start this season. Kyle, wouldn't you agree with that?
I would agree. A big hit last week in turn number 4. Spent much of the week putting that car back together. Was involved in a test session earlier here at the Speedway. So hopefully that 82 car and Mike Christopher Jr., obviously a name synonymous with this racetrack, can get back on the positive side of things after his tough start and an opening month to this 2023 campaign, And you never know, he could become the 5th different winner of the season. Very capable, looked good in that practice earlier this afternoon.
Now let's go back in the second round of practice to the car that was 4th fastest. It is car number 5 for R.J. Marcotte. Now that might be a new name to a lot of the people watching on Flo or even the fans here in the grandstand. But in reality, he is a former Legends driver and a very successful one, I might add. His dad was a front runner in the old Thompson Modified division, which was very similar to an IMCA-style Modified, and did quite well for himself. And now RJ has come up through the ranks. Now, interestingly enough, every week you will see RJ Marcotte in the top 5 in practice. His dad told me earlier this evening, he says, we have figured out the car and it gets better and better and better, but we just can't seem to get the brakes during the feature event. But we're getting closer. Youngster, a lot of talent, perfect example, representation of this division, setting in the 4th spot among practice. His time was a 19.392. That is very impressive for a driver that does not have a lot of seat time on this racetrack as well. So,
and picked up his first top 10 finish just a couple of weeks ago on the opening Friday night program after making a handful of starts here a year ago at the tail end of the season. Came back strong, has finished every event, I believe, one top 10 finish, and just kind of making laps, and that's what it's all about for these young competitors. RJ out of Millville, Massachusetts, just wanting to finish the races and get the seat time that is so important for these young competitors.
It sure is. Now we go to a veteran, the Hummel's Hot Dog Machine. Of course, Eddie Flemke Jr., the man that creates the magic in the traditional paint scheme and combination that both the Hummel's Hot Dog car and, of course, the entire Hummel family, as well as the Flemke family, have long been associated with. Corey DiMatteo come to life a year ago. He surprised a lot of folks, and he's getting stronger and more consistent. He's been on the podium. Kyle, you're our stat man. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Corey's right now 2nd in the championship standings, the most consistent driver this year not to pick up a win, the 25-year-old from Farmington, Connecticut. Been on the podium twice, finished 3rd in the Napa Springs Sizzler weekend, and then finished 3rd a week ago, and has finished each of the events among the top 10. So consistency is key, and we've seen that from Todd Owen the last couple of years.
Certainly have.
Hasn't set the world on fire when it gets to visiting Napa Victory Lane, but has stayed consistent throughout the entire 22-week season, and that's how he has earned his track championships over the last 2 seasons. And Corey is on pace, although Jimmy's on pace to do that as well. Jimmy Pluitt podiums about every week for that 85 team that you mentioned a little bit ago.
Now remember, the handicap situation is coming into play here as well. And in tonight's race program, this is basically how we determine this. For those of you watching on Flo, it's a little bit different than the normal procedure that we use. What I mean by that is we are only qualifying through qualifying heats if we go to the schedule that we had put together for the opening of the program before the weather conditions. That we would be qualifying through 3 qualifying rounds for the open type tour type modified division, and then the rest of the division, their starting positions, would be determined by the top 18 eligible cars in the points as we would determine a pre-qualified lineup for the feature event. Now, we both know you are an individual that has the opportunity to visit a lot of people in the paddock area. I'm on the gate, so I see them coming into the paddock area. The thing that's very interesting is you talk to some competitors and they say, I love these events. They work to our advantage. And you talk to other ones and they say, this is not my cup of tea. I need that seat time. I need the qualifying to determine when the conditions of the weather change for the feature events. What do you think the majority of the drivers feel about that?
Yeah, I think the majority of the drivers want the seat time just because of what you just mentioned, especially now with this front that has come through over the last 60 minutes or so. The temperature's cooling. The track temperature, no doubt, will cool 15, 20 degrees or more, especially by the time the features roll on. So it'd be easier for the teams to keep up with the racetrack if you practice and then come out 90 minutes or so later and run a heat race, and then run the feature and have that middle middle ground, that data point that they're not going to have tonight. Obviously, seat time is everything, but we'll not be getting that here this evening. And again, for those watching on FloRacing, we are in a very slight weather delay. It is just spitting out on the racetrack. A couple of track drying vehicles out there now, keeping heat in the surface. And the skies are lightening to the west, which is a good thing.
Now, if you take a look at that Monaco Ford safety vehicle, the blue one that is headed down in turn number 1, you will see the smoke coming off the tires that they're dragging behind it. That's what we want to see, because that smoke means, it's obvious, the friction. It means that the asphalt up against the rubber of the tires is making the surface dry, and as it gets dry, we're going to be able to kick things off. We also can see from our vantage point, as we look at pit road and we look at the part of the racetrack that is used on Monday nights for the kart programs here, that the conditions are not that extreme by any stretch of the imagination. They are really pretty dry. So we're in good shape. It's just a matter of a little bit of timing, so stick with us because it's a very special night brought to you by the good folks from Casella. We appreciate their continued support of not only the Speedway, but their continued support of drivers in all the divisions well represented. You know, it takes a lot of people to put together a program like we have here at Stafford, and those are quality people that spend countless hours on race day as well as countless hours during the week preparing for the race day presentation. And among the track officials, of course, a gentleman who was highly respected in his own way as a driver here at Stafford with championships at the London Waterford Speed Bowl and championships he set on the pole at New Hampshire International and other great accomplishment is Mr. Tommy Fox. The race directors, our good buddy Gunny, along with Chris Gambato, are in charge of that side of the coin. What they do is try to keep the playing field as fair as possible. They look at instant replays. They capture and discuss what is going on both on and off the racetrack. So they do a lot of special things behind the scenes.
And it
we'll
looks
tell
like,
you more in just a moment.
And it looks like they are on the radio right now, pulling all those track drying and vehicles and big tires to the infield. So that means we are set, almost set, to roll the cars here in just a matter of a couple of moments or so. Only the pace car is left on the Speedway. And again, we are on the back half of this system. And it looks like the system is about to clear out of here.
Well, good sign. We got Mike, who is getting up on top of the starter stand. Yep. And, of course, Brian Callum will be along with him on the starter stand. Our scorers here at the Speedway, Judy Clinty and Russ Smith, among the best in the business. These cars are electronically scored, just like the same type of a transponder that you would have on your car as you go through the toll booths in like the state of Massachusetts or any of the above. Handicappers booth, Kim Brooks. Assisting in the paddock area is Julie Windsor. And, of course, our pace car driver, a former driver in his own right, Tony LaFoe. So there's a lot of very special people. The turn 1 gate is our good buddy Jerry Elliott. And we go down through the list, and we appreciate everybody and the efforts that they put together. So it seems like we're getting closer as we speak to getting things kicked off for this evening's presentation. And
the last time, Ben, the Open Modifieds were here back on May 19th, the Call Before You Dig 81. It was Glenn Reen taking down the race win. We heard from him in our preview show, holding off Teddy Hodgson, Woody Pitcat, David Arute, and Joey Cipriano. And I talked to Glenn a little bit ago, along with Dan Avery as car owner. A little bit of pressure for Glenn tonight because Dan's granddaughter won here on Monday night.
She certainly did.
Reagan Avery.
She is very impressive.
She is. She picked up the win in the Tiger Sprint feature, so a little extra pressure for Glenn to continue his streak and to put Dan back in the winner's circle here later tonight.
It certainly is. It looks like we are getting very, very close to getting things underway. Again, we want to remind you tonight's program is brought to you by Casella Waste Systems Incorporated. Now, they were headquartered in Rutland, Vermont, and they have a new location in Willimantic, Connecticut. Casella Waste System provides solid waste management services consisting of collection, transfer, along with disposal and recycling service in the northeastern region of the United States. For more information about that, you can visit the website at Casella.com. We also salute all of our other additional sponsors like Paradiso Insurance, American Signs, CAS Custom Interiors, Delta, Arsenal, of course, FloRacing bringing you this presentation, and the official parts supplier in the paddock area, the Gaston family at GRE6, the number 6.com, iRacing.com, Junior Recovery, Longview RV, a great place for your next visit if you're in search of a camping unit. They've got the deals. Just tell them you heard about it here at Stafford. Manly Performance Products, Mayberry Material Handling, a longtime associate and friend, McKinney Construction, and the official fuel here at Stafford, which is Sunoco, provided by New England Racing Fuel, the Holland family, located in Burlington, Connecticut. New England Racing Fuel is, of course, providers of Sunoco Racing Fuels, Cam2 Racing Gas, Joe Gibbs driven racing oil, and a lot more. So if you need racing fuels, whether it's for that boat of yours, that performance car, or whatever the case may be, you'll find it at New England Racing Fuels. And, of course, the good folks from Olson Apartments. And we remind you that the official safety vehicles provided here at the Stafford Motor Speedway come from the good folks at Monaco Ford. They have 2 locations to serve you. Their main headquarters is located in Glastonbury, Connecticut. Over 100 years of service, and then their newest location is in Niantic, Connecticut. They had a fantastic fundraising car show in Glastonbury, Connecticut yesterday. Tremendous turnout, Kyle, and it was a real credit because all the money they raised was for great causes, the veterans and other causes that they work with and do such a great program for. There's a great shot of the official pace car, the Stafford Motor Speedway, and they're just waiting when you see those lights, the final touches of making the racetrack ideal for this evening's presentation is looking better every second as we speak.
Yeah, all the officials getting into place. Want to thank all the race fans for hanging in with us through this slight delay of about 15 minutes or so. But the pace car begins to move on the back straightaway. And here we go. Our first qualifying event of the night. Rolling out on the racetrack, there are 3 of them for the Open Modifieds to set the starting lineup for the Casella Waste 80. And here is Ben with our pole sitter.
Well, setting at the point in this one will be car number 1B. That, of course, is the Superior Refinishing Machine. And that is car number 1. The hometown of the driver from Danbury, Connecticut, is George Bissett Jr.
Outside of the front row, car number 88 from Bellingham, Massachusetts, the Dunleavy's truck and trailer repair car for Woody Pitcat.
Row number 2, car number 179 from Newtown, Connecticut, the John Jensen Avenue Auto of Waterbury car. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the guy they call the bad boy, Anthony Bello.
Outside of the second row, it's the number 1 from Newtown, Connecticut, the Wenick Construction Incorporated car for Stephen Kopchik.
Then we go to the 5th starter on the grid. It is car number 43, Sealer Properties. Devin O'Connell is the owner and the driver from Madison, Connecticut.
6th starter, car 79 from Chelmsford, Massachusetts, the Middlesex Interiors car for John McKennedy.
He's a former champion here in the SK Lights, sitting behind the wheel of the Pro Systems. Number 18 car from Griswold, Connecticut. Would you welcome Tyler Berry?
And rounding out the 8-car field, car number 20 from Summers, Connecticut. Best Auto providing the sponsorship for Todd Owen.
The distance will be 10 laps. 5 cars will transfer among the handicap positions. Interestingly enough, this is a plus or minus event. What that means is simply the more cars you pass from the further back you are on a point average or a position average guarantees you a better starting spot in what we call the big dance. Mike on the starter stand looking the field over, telling him to cross over. And here we do, and it is car number 1, assuming its position at the front of the field. That's Teddy Anderson's race car. That is the Superior Refinishing car.
Also sponsored by Casella Waste.
Yes, and we have a ton of cars sponsored by the good folks from Casella Waste. So we're going to be clicking that information along to you, the race fans. If you're watching on Flow, this is the first of the qualifying rounds. As they're about ready to thunder into turn number 3, pace car will dive to the center of the infield, and appropriately, the first qualifying round is about to begin. And here's Kyle Rickey with the call.
And they come off of turn 4. George Bissett Jr. will lead the field to the green flag, and we are underway here tonight. He is not going to hang on to the top spot long. By the time they get to turn number 2, the defending winner of this event will jump out front. Woody Pitcat will lead up the back straightaway.
Woody Pitcat's picking up where he left off. He sets a blistering pace at the front of the field. Side by side, the bid is for second. 2 competitors with the same number, but only one can have position number 2, and that seems to be Kopczyk, who runs on the outside. The Warnick car moves into second like a rocket. Behind him, it is Bissett in the day-glow yellow and orange number 1 car. Behind them is Bellows with car 179.
Top 5 cars have singled out. Then it's Devin O'Connell in 6. Todd Owen has looked inside and out to take that spot away, and he'll do just that to the exit of turn number 2. So move Owen to 6. Here's Berry to 7th to the inside of O'Connell as the top 5 get away just a bit. That second place car, Steven Kopczyk, way loose off of turn number 4. Hangs on to it, but loses ground to Woody Pitcat.
Interestingly enough, remember, we're talking about the plus or minus system in this. Right now, Steven Kopczyk started 4th. He is up to 2nd, so he picked up 2 positions. So he is the car that has gained the most currently. Now, Woody Pitcat started to the outside of the front row. He's only picked up 1 position in theory, but 1 is where he wants to be, the number 1 car on the racetrack. And there's the cross flags. Look at that bid for the 2nd spot. Bissett nipping at the heels. And Kyle, I think you called it right. 1 car is very loose. The other 1 car is running to the bottom and very tight and very good.
That is George Bissett Jr. right now in the 3rd spot, the second number 1 in line, just behind Steven Kopczyk. And both are closing in on race leader Woody Pitcat. Coming down to the second half of this event, 6 of 10 go in the books. It's Pitcat out front, as he has been since the drop of the green flag. Then Kopczyk and Bissett in a tussle for second. Bello looks on from position number 4 in the 179.
And there's no question, right behind him is car number 79, defending champion of the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, and that's John McKennedy. Single file, nobody steps out of line here, but in turn number 2, I think Woody Pitcat is playing possum with everybody in this qualifying round. That's the Dunleavy's car. Cam McDermott, his dad, the masterminds behind it. This time when they come to the line, 2 laps to go.
2 laps to go from starter Mike Hellberg atop the starter stand. Pitcat continues to lead. Nobody stepping out of line off of turn 2 and up the back straightaway. The battle for 6th. Among the best on the racetrack right now, Todd Owen has it over Tyler Berry, who looks to his inside with the white flag in the wind for race leader Woody Pitcat.
Now let's see if Woody Pitcat's going to string it out a bit in this final circuit. Comes off the turn, and he does. We were right, he was playing a little bit of possum, but that's not the story for second. Kopczyk is there, then it's Bissett. Checkered flag is out, and the top 5 cars going into the plus or minus in the record books. Woody Pitcat will take down the win. Steven Kopczyk picked up 2 spots to finish in 2nd. George Bissett was 3rd. Rounding out the top 4 was Anthony Bellows. And Kyle, there was 1 more to make it in the top 5.
That was John McKennedy in the 5th spot. Then Todd Owen finished in 6th, Tyler Berry 7th, and Devin O'Connell rounded out the 8 cars that took the green flag in heat race number 1 of 3 for the Open Modifieds.
And this is Casella night here at the Stafford Motor Speedway, so let's get to round number 2 in Casella qualifying. This gentleman has already had success this season, and it's happened on the Monaco Ford Tri-Track Series at the beautiful Thunder Road Speedway. Sitting behind the wheel of the number 50 car, the Empower Financial Services car from Ellington, Connecticut, car number 50 for Ronnie Williams.
Outside of the front row, car 58 from Riverhead, New York, the GAF Roofing sponsored entry for Eric Goodale.
And then we go to the Bear Motorsports car, the Wheelers Automotive entry. This car was red hot. 2nd time out for this car from North Haven, Connecticut, car number 14, the pride of Italy, Marcello Raffano.
Then the most recent Open Modified winner here at the racetrack back on May 19th, starting in 4th in the 10A from Belchertown, Massachusetts, the Stone and Lime Historic Restoration sponsored car for Glenn Reen.
In the 5th starting spot is car number 3, the AAA Consulting Machine. Deborah Galco owns the automobile, sitting behind the wheel of the number 3 from Moodus, Connecticut. He can be a mover and a shaker. It is Matt Galco.
Car number 55 will go next from Milford, Connecticut, the Dell's Vinyl Siding sponsored car for Robert Bloxham III.
In the 7th starting spots, Jim Page Plumbing and Heating car. The car that's prepared by Steve LeMay from Middle Island, New York. It is Craig Lutz, the Lutz Cracker.
And rounding out the 8-car field, from Wolcott, Connecticut, car number 47, it is Joey Muchacharo.
So there you have it. Same story. 10 laps is the distance, of course, and 5 cars to make the transfer. Plus or minus, if you're watching, great shots up on our board here at the Speedway as we're about ready to get things kicked off again. And it looks like car number 7 had a mechanical problem in the practice session for JP, Jonathan Pulio. That car is not in this event. It is being allowed to come out to try to put a check on what the problem was and see if they can solve that.
I believe it was a distributor issue.
Yeah.
The same issue that affected the car a week ago in the feature.
Yep.
They have made a bunch of changes to that car in the last 90 minutes or so he's going to get a couple of extra laps at the back of the pack. But the 8 cars in front of him will be racing for starting spots in tonight's Casella Waste 80, and we're set to go green this time by.
We sure are. Get ready off turn number 4. Car number 50 setting on the inside, Ronnie Williams and Eric Goodale. Picture perfect start, big power beneath the hood. Meanwhile, Williams is the guy at the point, but it is by inches. But down the back straightaway, there comes Goodale. Marcello Rafano is right there. And Glenn Reen showing it was no fluke that he won the first event of this type.
They are stacked up at the front. Nobody getting away among the top 5. It is Ronnie Williams at the point by a half a car length over Eric Goodale. Then the 14 of Rafano. Next car in line, second on the bottom with Rena his inside, or make that outside. Galco looks on in position number 5 with nowhere to go in that number 3 car.
The 5th spot becomes the hot spot of the racetrack. All of a sudden, here comes Lutz. He tries to make the move. Back up front, here comes Goodale. Tried a nice crossover to get around Williams. Can't do it. This time, side by side, second on back. They're pretty much evenly matched at the line. Still Goodale in second, but Reen is putting the Horsepower Hills Farms machine to the outside. He has got plenty of giddy up beneath the hood of that car, Kyle. He's into second.
Has it wound up in the outside lane for Glenn Reen in a battle for the runner-up position. To the inside, it's Eric Goodale. Just behind them, here comes the 3 car. Matt Galco has a good look to the inside of Marcello Rafano to take the 4th spot coming to halfway.
As they come to the halfway marker, the story now becomes a battle for 5th. Marcello Rafano is setting in the 5th spot, but all of a sudden, Joey Muchacharo, they call him the Mooch. That's his nickname, by the way, with car number 47 is glued to the back bumper. He moves to the inside of Marcello Rafano. 5 is the magic number. Who has picked up the most positions on the racetrack? Well, it currently looks like it is Muchacharo because he is 1 spot away from a very valuable transfer spot. And what about the 00, the Jimmy Page car? Kyle, he's in there too. 3 cars for that valuable 5th position.
That is Craig Lutz just behind Muchacharo, who is able to move around Marcello Rafano, who is going in the wrong direction in that 14 car, stuck in the outside lane and will lose 2 spots in less than a half a lap. Further up front, battle for the lead. Eric Goodale has reeled in Ronnie Williams for the top spot.
Well, Ronnie Williams is looking racy still at the point, but Goodale is a closer. I don't care if it's a qualifying heat or it's a feature event. You might not find him up front in the beginning, but when it comes to where the money is, and this is a money position, there is a great battle going on right up front. Here comes Goodale, white flag, no surrendering for the battle for the lead. The Empower machine is the money car up front, and here comes Goodale, Kyle. He took a peek at it, but the door was closed rather suddenly.
Into turn 3 for the final time in this second qualifying event. One more look to the bottom for Eric Goodale. Doesn't have the drive off, and Ronnie Williams will pick up the win over Eric Goodale in second, Glenn Reen in third, and Matt Galco rounded out the front half of the field in fourth.
Well, the guy that takes the final transfer position for the handicap is Joey Mucciacciaro. He'll finish in the fifth spot. Craig Lutz's car is sixth. Marcello Rufano's car faltered towards the end of the event. Car 14 to finish in seventh, and Robert Bloxham would finish among the top 8 cars. One more round for the open cars presented by the good folks from Casella Waste, and it looks like car number 44 is going to be starting at the point. This is the number 44, kind of a tribute car for Dave Cesarillo out of Munson, Massachusetts, the 1812 paint and auto body car.
Outside of the front row is going to be car number 24, the Hamden, Massachusetts native, Place Motors, providing the sponsorship for Mikey Flynn.
Row number 2 to the inside, the Cape Towing and Salvage car from Woodstock, Connecticut, car number 28 for Buddy Charette.
Car 55 will go next from Danbury, Connecticut, Montanari Fuel, providing the sponsorship for Teddy Hodgson.
Then we go to car number 75, traditional look, the Pastriac Racing car, the Dolly's Collision and Customs Machine from Moosip, Connecticut, car 75 for Chris Pastriac.
Sixth starter, car number 20 from Oakdale, Connecticut, Casella Waste, providing the entry for Max Zackham.
Car number 77 is up next. He'll be the final starter in this qualifying round. That is the CrossFitters Equipment Services car for Matty Gallo out of Berlin, Connecticut. He'll start with car 77 in the 7th spot. Caution flag is out on the field, so they're going to be taking it one more time around. Looks like we've got some debris underneath the Monaco Ford billboard going into turn number 3, and the Monaco Ford Safety Services truck is there to check things out and pick up that piece of debris. Very crucial part of the racetrack. Now take a look at that beautiful Monaco Ford truck. If you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, all you have to do is head to either one of those locations and tell them that you heard about it here at Stafford. Whether you're talking to Michael, his sister, the dad, Dave, whatever the case may be, or their prominent staff, you will get the best deals that you can possibly get, and they're all available at Monaco Ford. This one's going to be interesting because as the field is doubled up, car number 44 of Dave Cesarillo was scheduled to start in the number 1 position, drops to the rear of the field in the 7th spot. Now that changes things quite a bit, to be honest with you, and as we've seen in the past, it becomes a move up of the lane,
right?
And that's exactly what we're witnessing now.
Inside lane advances 1. That'll put Mikey Flynn on the pole as they come off of turn number 4. Flynn, top spot, Charette to the outside, Hodgson in third as they go to turn number 1 to begin the third and final qualifying heat for the Open Modifieds. And Hodgson wasting a little time, going from third to second, and now challenging for the lead on Flynn.
Teddy Hodgson is a kid that really knows how to manhandle a race car. He takes over the lead, and surprisingly enough, the guy that quickly is moving in to contend is Max Zackham. Zackham said he felt that he had a very racy race car, and I think he's showing that. But look at Mikey Flynn. Flynn dips to the bottom of the racetrack. They are wheel to wheel and side by side as they cross the line.
That's the battle for second. Behind them, Chris Pastriac goes to the outside of Charette to take over the 4th spot as they go back to turn number 2 and up the backstretch, about to complete the 3rd circuit this time by.
You got to go back to the 5th spot because that's where the heat has been turned up, and it is a battle between Charette and the number 77 car of Matt Gallo. Now, the Gallo family, the father, had a lot of success, and they had a lot of success at the Waterford Speedway when they competed there as well. That's the battle for position number 5. Out in front, Teddy Hodgson, who's been plagued with hardships, problems with the engine in the car, but everywhere he showed up and every time on the racetrack, he has been fast, and he is showing speed here. And believe it or not, in all of the qualifying events, he is among the quickest cars in the house.
Looking for his first Open Modified win here at the Speedway. 5 down, 5 to go for Teddy Hodgson. He is out front by a pretty good margin, 7/10 of a second over Max Zackham. That equates to about 9 or 10 car lengths on the racetrack. Mikey Flynn doing a nice job fending off Chris Pastriac for the 3rd spot. fact, second, third, and fourth, fairly tightly bunched on the Speedway. Then a bit of a gap back to Buddy Charette and Matt Gallo in a race for 5th and 6th on the racetrack. It's just past halfway.
Interestingly enough, Pastriak has been able to reel in on Mikey Flynn. Now he has gotten stronger. He's peaks to the inside. Can't do it coming off turn number 4. Now you're watching the battle for the 3rd and the 4th spot. Mikey Flynn in the more recent events has gotten stronger. Look at Pastriak. Bonsai move to the bottom, to the inside. Pastriak's got his rhythm going, and he will now move in to the 3rd position as Mikey Flynn drops back to 4th.
And every spot counts toward the feature event starting lineup for that Casella Waste 80 lapper here later this evening as they race into turn 3 and will come to the white flag this time by. And they've all reeled in Teddy Hodgson, but will they have enough time as Hodgson leads back to turn 1 for the final time in this 3rd and final qualifying race?
Well, he is looking very, very strong out in front, and just as we said they were catching him, all of a sudden he steps on the gas and he pulls away. Pastriak comes up on the target of 2nd, which is Max Zackham, but the checkered flag is out. Great run for Teddy Hodgson to take down the win. Max Zackham to finish in 2nd. Chris Pastriak to round out the top 3. And in the 4th and the 5th spot, very valuable positions, Kyle. What do we got?
Yeah, Mikey Flynn finished in 4th. Then it was Matt Gallo rounding out the top 5, followed by Buddy Charette and Dave Sazzarillo rounding out the 7 cars that started the 3rd and final qualifying event. The lineup now is set for the Casella Waste 80 for the Open Modifieds here later tonight. Feature events coming up next on this night, sponsored by Casella here at the Stafford Motor Speedway.
Last week at Stafford, the SK Modifieds gifted us a classic.
Here's Rafrano to the inside in turn 3. May have been a bit of contact. Blewett slides up the Speedway. Here's Marcello Rafrano back to the front of the field.
Racing against the 2 of the best in the Northeast there, Keith Rocco and Jimmy Blewett, man. He didn't make it easy.
The final laps of the Riley Generators Limited Late Model 30 was simply put chaotic.
Here's him, and they get together. Jensic hard into the outside wall off turn 2.
A tire down on the 28 car. Back in winning form here at Stafford. Jeremy Lavoie will take down the win.
Andrew Durant sliced and diced his way through the field, and not even mowing the grass could stop him from late model win number 2. While Brian Sullivan and Ryan Waterman's dominant starts continue, and the Open Modifieds enter the scene once again. So who will find victory lane tonight? It's time to go racing. It's Friday night